All right, hi, how you doing? This is B. Okay, gonna go ahead and talk about reading response two. Um, one I wanted to talk about one the Yimiya, um, the god of the water. Gloria had talked about it in the poem of the homeland of Astalan, Astalan, which I find it really interesting. I always like to hear about Yimiya. So and in this one on the one page on page 25 it says Yimiya blew the wire fence down, you know, because well before that it says but the skin of the earth is seamless, the sea cannot be fenced, Omar does not stop at borders to show the white man what she thought of his arrogance. Yimiya blew the wire fence down, you know. And um I've heard this happening or other writings and I don't know if you want to call it tales or beliefs or things are passed down through with the hurricanes, you know, and uh, those states and lands that were slaved on or plantation and route for slave ships. You know, that's why you got the hurricanes, right? That's how hurricanes and so forth stem along in that area, you know, because of the mother god of the ocean, Yumiya, right? Um, putting out her vengeance and I don't know, I like that other part too. It talks about, you know, this land was Mexican once, was Indian always, and is, and will be again. You know, that's very, you know, I think that's that cycle, you know, of everything repeats itself eventually, you know. What's once was before will be again, you know, and I think that's one of the biggest fears um, with the U.S. And the language and the politics that you hear today when they're talking about borders and immigration, right? This fear of a brown planet, right? This fear of a brown U.S. nation. Um, it scares them to death. So, with that said, right, where are the borders? You know, and the borders is more than just a physical, right? Physical plant or wall or wire or you know, paper or treaty that's signed. You know, it's something that is subdued within the conscious and the subconscious for generations of people. You know, we have borders within our minds, just like, you know, racism, right? A races was created by man, right? And it was created to keep this type of our tier and hierarchy and to identify, right? That you are not white, so you are this. Um, and to keep that type of segregation going on. Um, and so that same things with borders, you know. I like the way she so beautifully described it. You know, it's a dividing line, a narrow strip on page 25 along a steep edge. You know, borderland is vague and a term place created by emotional, and that's huge. Emotional residue. You know, because regardless whether, I mean, it goes beyond. You know, like I said, fences and you know, um, police and and pieces of paper. You know, it's something that's inside. and it leaves this emotional residue, this stain. Um, there's a big thing about PTSS, I believe, post traumatic slavery, right? And you're gonna probably hear me compare a lot of that of with these two um, cultures, and yeah, because I mean we have a lot in common and a lot with one, I guess, defined oppressor. Um, so as it goes on, you know, it talks about the emotional, and then when you do get over into the U.S. to the Southwest, in the U.S. Southwest, um, you're invisible, right? You don't know the language. You don't. Um, you're basically a second-rate citizen, or third-rate citizen, and you kind of live in the shadows, and you don't have no voice. Even that is its own border, you know. All these things can keep that divide and keep people closed out and separated, right, from us and them, the haves and the have-nots. And the other thing too that I liked about the Una Era Abrate, I think I'm saying it right, but probably not. But the open wound, because America and Mexico, is a big artery there. They feed off each other. With the maquiladoras, and I'm working on my Spanish, so I haven't taken Spanish one yet, but the maquiladoras. Anyway, the thing that was signed by NAFTA back in the 90s and so forth. President Clinton did that. Worst thing probably could have ever done, but one of them. That's a big bloodline right there, and the U.S. is like vampires, right? And they're like sucking it out, and they're wondering, well, why people are coming up to try to find prosperity, and better paying jobs and wages, when you got all these factories and companies that are paying, unlivable wages down there, and pretty much knocking people out of their homes and making it very unlivable and uninhabitable for the common people. So that within itself, but she talks about that how the third world grates against the first, and bleeds. And when I was reading that, it reminded me of like a cheese grater, and I'm just like pressing my face up against it, trying to just get in, and constantly, my skin's just like peeling, and even though it might kind of scab up for a second, it's so many, and it's continuous all the time. I'm trying to get through this, that it just opens right back up, and it just continues to bleed. And that's what that relationship is like, right? But when you get that, the two worlds, meaning the U.S. and Mexico, and so forth in the middle, right? The ones that are just sloughing off the graded fence and whatnot is that third world, and that's the borderlands. So, and I watched some videos too, about people who've lived on the border, and it's like, man, are they living in the U.S.? You know, you would think that that they weren't living in the U.S., but they are. They're just right on the edge of that border, and it's a poverty-stricken place. Very, very sad. And let's see if I can find one of those videos. Yeah, I can upload it to Blackboard streaming. You know, but it's better than what they were living before, and they've made a home. You know what I'm saying? What kind of shit? Oh, but anyhow, I really so far have enjoyed these readings. Also, I really like Immigrants in Our Own Land by Jimmy Santiago Baca. I really like the way he compares, you know, coming in, right, to prison. It's just like, coming into this new world, right? You're like pretty much immigrants all over again. You have to kind of try to figure everything out. And how he watches, this coming in with these hopes and promises of change and rehabilitation, and not actually getting or receiving that. What it says, it's not at all it's cracked up to be. He said on that one line, I think it's like 57 on page 231. He says, looking around, each with a dream in their heart, thinking they'll get a chance to change their lives. But in the end, someone just sit around talking about how the good old world was. Ain't that something? Some of the younger ones will become gangsters. Some will die, and others will go on living without a soul, a future, or a reason to live. Some will make it out of here with hate in their eyes, but so very few make it out of here as human. That's prison for you. But I guess comparing that, that could be the same as coming to this new world. Depending on how you got here. There's a lot of people that come through here and they have to come in through prostitution, or they have to work all these wages to pay back, money just to get over here, or they're stuck in and working on farms and they're unable to make a living wage anyway. They're constantly, or they're basically working like slaves, what is it? Sharecropping. So anyway, that's all I gotta say about that. I think I'm at like 13 minutes in. I've hoped I've hit the parts that I needed to hit, and I made some kind of sense. So it's late. All right. Good night.